dating apps need to focus on compatibility. And that's really the emphasis for why Anteros is what it is. And I think that Anteros app is how online dating should have always been.
Hello and welcome back to Dating Yapps. I'm your host, Alex Daly, and I am super excited. We have a hot topic today. We are talking about dating apps here on Dating Yapps. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, or if you just hadn't figured it out already, my podcast name is a play on dating apps, if it wasn't obvious. So we're going to have a lot of fun digging into this topic. There's a lot to yap about. So I'm going to bring on my wonderful guest. Her name is Samantha Ciccarella, and she is a dating visionary and app founder and the creator of the new dating app called Anteros. Anteros is not your average dating app. It is aimed at intentional daters who want a better online experience because don't we all? The dating apps can be super overwhelming. So I'm really excited to bring Samantha on. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you so much for having me, Alex. I'm very excited to be here.
I am so excited to have you because, I think a lot of daters out there get really overwhelmed by the apps, especially if you are getting back on after a long time. Maybe you've never been on the apps. They're super overwhelming. They can feel really like gamified and I think take some of the human experience out of it. And I think that's what frustrates a lot of daters. So I'm super excited to get into hearing about your dating app, some of the struggles, some of the challenges, and how you're hoping to bring this app into the market to change that.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about it because I definitely felt that there was a need for something different. And I'm really proud of what I created. And I genuinely feel that it's going to make the online dating experience much better for everyone.
Yeah, I sure hope so. But I would love to learn a little bit about you before we dive into this topic. So let's warm up a little bit if you're game.
Absolutely. Bring it
Okay,
on.
awesome. So we're gonna talk about who we're crushing on because isn't that what makes life worth living? I would love to know who you're crushing on. It also doesn't have to be a who. It could be a what. It could be something, a hobby that you're into, anything. Do you have a crush of the moment?
When it comes to a what, it's definitely gardening. I have a backyard in Jersey City and just spending so much time out there, I absolutely love it. And I find that it's both a workout, but it also makes me very zen at the same time. So that's my what. When it comes to a real crush, I wouldn't say that there's anyone in particular, but it's what I see myself gravitating towards in terms of a type of man. So
Okay.
someone who definitely is comfortable in themselves. They're a gentleman and they make me feel very comfortable. And maybe it's cliche, but I think that Pedro Pascal does a really good job of exemplifying those traits. So that is what I am on the hunt for. I am not after the 6'5" trust fund blue eyes guy. I am after the gentleman who is just so confident in himself and just someone who can really make me feel very, very comfortable.
Yeah, I love that you just said that also because as you were describing the type of man that you would have a crush on, I was literally going to ask you if there was a celebrity that embodied it. And in my head, I had Pedro Pascal. So funny that you said that. I feel like he's everyone's crush right now. Everyone's crushing on his arms.
Yes, yes. The arms help. It's, you know what, when such a beautiful inside comes with a beautiful, handsome package, I mean, that's just win-win.
Yes. And he does have some like bold, courageous fashion choices that I've seen also. Like he's been wearing like tall boots recently and he pulls off every look so well. I mean, aren't we all just crushing on him?
Oh, I love it so much. I first started my career in the fashion industry, and I love when a man can go bold. I think that's so
Yeah.
exciting and so attractive.
I totally agree. And I feel like it really exudes confidence, especially if it's like something that people don't wear every day, but you see a guy like bringing bold colors into his outfit or, cool shoes. And you're like, okay, wow, like this guy's feeling himself.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's that confidence without ego.
Yes, yes. That is the dream. That is the dream. So, speaking of dreams, do you have a dream date that you would like to go on, like an experience? What's your ideal date?
This is very controversial in those Facebook dating groups, but I love a walking date. I love a
Oh.
wandering date, I am someone who likes to get into very deep conversations early on. I want to know everything about this person. And I think when they're a stranger, it's easier to arrive at those deeper levels when you're just kind of wandering. As well, when you're wandering and you're in a public space, you're seeing how they interact with the world and with strangers. And I think it can tell you a lot about someone. So I'm someone who, if I want to have a cocktail, I can go with friends and coworkers. But when it comes to genuinely getting to know someone, I want to wander with them.
Okay, I really like that. And one thing about the walking is, well, first of all, you're outside. You're like not sitting with someone at a table. When someone's sitting across from you, I feel like a date tends to feel like an interview. So I like any date like walking where you're next to the person and you automatically feel sort of like a friendlier vibe and it helps the conversation flow. At least I've found that way.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And although it is great to check out different bars and restaurants and sit one on one, or I also love the idea of going to a live music show, I just feel that walking dates are very underrated.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree. And I think going to a show is super fun, but you're not going to get to know someone that way. I think it's great to go maybe on a later date if you already know this person pretty well. I love going to shows, but if it's an early date, yeah, why not go for a walk, see if you can get to know them, get a conversation going.
Yeah, and you also get more of a feel for their body language too.
That is a great point. I didn't think of that. Okay, one more question here. Are there any, you can take this either way, red flag or green flag that is like at the forefront of your mind right now?
I've actually been seeing this one pop up a lot, but it's something that has resonated with me so strongly. People who do not ask questions on dates.
Mm,
Do not understand. I do understand that maybe they want to sound impressive, but don't you also want to know about me? You know, I understand that you want to share about yourself, but it should be a conversation. And it was the last date that I went on, not from someone from my app. They did not ask me any questions. I knew everything about their life, their job, their work, their coworkers, like how they grew up. And they didn't even know that in addition to Anteros app, that I actually have another job. They didn't find that out probably until the last 15 minutes of the date because they asked me no questions. So that is my big, big red flag. That is something that I'm such on the lookout for of how much do they actually inquire and want to engage in conversation versus just talk at me.
wow. Yeah, that is such a red flag. And you know what that guy probably said to you? Like, I had a great time because
Yes, yes.
he was talking about himself the entire time. And he's like, that was great.
He wanted to keep the date going. When he asked me to go to another stop, I'm like, oh no, I'm going to go home. And he was surprised by that. I'm like, come on. And this was someone who I think he was 40 as well. It's like, you should know by now to ask questions. So, not to be that person, what is your big red flag right now?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like now that we're thinking of it, I definitely agree with you. It's anything where it's either no questions or just one word answers. You're like not giving someone something to grab onto. You know, you have to be both interesting and interested. You have to like there's a back and forth with dating. It's not a one-way street. And I understand people want to like put their best selves forward. That's why they get into like monologue mode and stuff, but it's just like you have to be able to pause and recognize that there's a person on the other side of it and see like is this landing with them? Like have I asked them any questions? What have I learned about this person or did I just talk about myself this entire time?
I mean, I think you just hit on what is something that is very commonplace and an issue in modern dating is that people aren't looking at the person across from them as another person. They're
Mm.
looking at them as a sounding board. And yeah, I mean, that's another thing that we could dive into, but I'll let us
Yeah.
move on from that. It's too deep.
No, no. I mean, we can get into a little bit, but I would love to hear. I feel like it's a great segue to tell your story about how you came up for the idea for your app. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey to get here?
Yeah. So a lot of it came from my personal experience. I have been on and off dating apps for over 10 years. I first moved to New York City shortly after Tinder had launched and coming out of a breakout. So, like, for me, it was so exciting. Everyone I had ever dated before was someone that I knew from my circle. So, this was something that I thought was so cool. And then as I was growing up through my 20s with dating apps, I felt like there was this really big shift during COVID about how the apps worked. So for a couple years, I've been part of those Facebook groups. Are we dating the same guy? I'm sure you've
Hmm.
heard of those. And then also Reddit's Dating Over 30 subgroup. And I noticed that there were the same frustrations shared over and over, especially in the Reddit group. And it was very clear that these issues weren't only felt by women like me in New York City, but by all genders across the entire US. So I realized that there were features that I really wanted to showcase within an app because of my direct experience. But I realized that every feature that I was creating was a solution to a direct issue that hundreds, if not thousands, of people have said they were encountering. So it was this very unintentional consumer research. And then once I realized that I was going to create something, I just got very, very specific on this mission.
Wow. Yeah. So the idea came from your own personal experience and then also just hearing these common complaints come up over and over. And I think anybody that's been dating has been in these similar online forums. And yeah, people do say the same things over and over. So it's a problem. It's a problem right now on dating apps. And that's why I feel like people are getting tired of them.
Oh, yeah, there is such dating fatigue. And there's also a reason why the big apps don't do anything to combat these issues that we're facing. It's because they need people to stay on the apps longer. They need them to pay for the packages and for premium. So there's a lot that they're just focusing on the shareholders. I mean, they have billions of dollars in revenue and they have to keep making more money year over year. Whereas for me, this is a self-funded passion project that I really believe in to create a product that will just make a better experience, something that we deserve to have when it comes to online dating. I don't think that we should be limited by, a group that really does have a monopoly on what's on the marketplace.
Yeah, yeah. That's amazing that you are trying to forge ahead and like shift the needle on this because it is such a big issue. And there have been a lot of articles coming out about like the business of dating apps and stuff because it is a business. Like Hinge's tagline of like the app that's meant to be deleted. It's like, no, it's not. You want to keep people hooked.
Yes, yeah. And it's like, oh, yes, we do delete it because we're so frustrated. And then we feel obligated to download it again. It is this endless cycle. So I'm really hoping that with Anteros, it not only creates a better experience, but I've actually found because the app is live, I use it, but I still keep my other profiles on the other apps just to kind of like see what's happening out there. And I noticed so quickly that my brain operates differently when I'm on
Mm.
apps versus on my apps. It is so quick, and my fatigue of them is 10 times faster than it was before. I think because
Oh
I felt
wow.
a bit more desperate before, and now I'm just like, no, I know exactly what they're doing, and I have a solution. And yes, I'll keep testing the waters of them. But I really notice, and it's something that I wanted from Anteros, is to do a behavioral change and a mindset change of online dating.
Yeah, yeah, because I feel like the big apps that are out there, it really feels like a game. And it really feels like, okay, well, what if I just swipe one more? What if I just swipe one more? Then
Mhm.
I'll find the person. Then I'll find the person. And they also make you feel like, okay, well, I'm not seeing any good people. So it must be because I'm not paying for the app. So then I must have to pay for the app. And then they're going to show my profile to the good people. It just like, it feels like a game.
Yeah, I mean, I basically have like a whole thesis on the gamification of most dating apps, and it's exactly why I created a Anteros app with zero gamification elements.
Okay,
Because,
yeah. So can
yeah.
you tell us a little bit about the app and the interface and how it's laid out?
Oh, yeah. So it kind of comes back to why did it come to be? And it's because of the biggest issues with the other apps. And it's exactly what we were just speaking to. It's their gamification, which I'm not sure how much people actually realize is happening or how toxic it is for our mindsets. But they want you to approach online dating with this idea that your person is just one swipe away and that you have to end up spending hours going through all of these profiles. I mean, I don't know if it's me as someone who's very intentional about my dating, but I read through every profile
Hmm.
twice. especially if I find the person attractive before I decide to send a like or not. And then I also realized, oh, there's all these algorithms that you have to hack. And they always put these better, quote unquote, better matches behind what I consider rose jail. And I just don't want to play into this gamification. So I just wanted to remove those dopamine hits. I wanted to remove, or not even start out with any gamification, because I think that dating apps need to focus on compatibility. And that's really the emphasis for why Anteros is what it is and why that product exists. I think that Anteros app is how online dating should have always been. I do have a list of all of my features and basically what makes it different. So I can go through it unless you
Yeah,
want.
I would love to hear, just so like people can get an idea of what they might be in for. If they downloaded their app, what's going to happen?
Yeah. So what's really exciting is that the algorithm, it's based on compatibility, and it was designed, tried, and pressure tested with a dozen couples that I personally know and can vet for their relationships. All of them had to at least been engaged. Most of them have been in relationships for their relationship for a very, very long time. With Interos app, you can see everyone at once. There is no swiping. You don't have to make that immediate decision in order to see the next profile. Yeah, and there's something that I don't think people realize with that is that I don't know if we always give people the credit that they're due when we're like, well, what's behind them? And you
Mhm.
have this time sensitive issue ahead of you that you can't move forward until you make a decision. On Interos, you do not have that. You see everyone at once and they are sorted by your most compatible to least compatible. And that scoring is done based on the algorithm that I use the couples for. So I created an initial algorithm. I did a lot of research, what matters in a relationship. And then I had all of these couples download the app. And then I reviewed with them their scores and their profiles, and then just did some edits and weight distribution moves to ensure that their scores truly reflected what is compatibility within a relationship, especially based on what you fill out from an online dating profile. Attraction is another element, chemistry is another element. But if we're going to be on a dating app, this is at least foundational things that are tested with real couples. You can also filter out deal breakers in addition to setting your preferences. That's actually the tipping point for when I decided to create my own app. I bought Bumble Premium and I was overwhelmed with how many likes I had. So I would filter on one deal breaker at a time, swipe left as much as I could until my fingers hurt. And then I would switch to the next one so that I was hoping to just end up with people that didn't have my deal breakers. So that's why I'm like, you know what? The reason you can't only use preferences, if someone doesn't answer everything perfectly the way that you set your preferences, you won't see them. They might not answer the question, and you might be confusing a preference with a deal breaker. So I wanted
Mhm.
people to really understand the difference between that.
Yeah, can you say a little bit more about that? What is a preference versus a deal breaker?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to deal breakers, for me, that would be whether or not they want children. And it's also, political affiliation. Like these are things that I think are intrinsic values and morals that you really ought to share with your partner. Otherwise, I think that you will always be coming up against these issues. And I really wish that people wouldn't back down from what matters most to them. I think a lot of times people get together because the chemistry is so great, the attraction is so great. But if you're not aligned on things that very much matter to you, I think you're always going to have struggles in your relationship. And I think that's the one relationship where you should be aligned on a few things. So, me personally, I only have about 4 deal breakers. Everything else is a preference.
Okay, so a deal breaker would be something like political views, your like future family plans, something big like that versus a preference would be like you prefer to go on a walking date, someone else prefers to go to a cocktail bar.
Yeah, like whether or not you have a pet right now, your personality type. There's things, that's what it is, though, for each individual, their deal breakers are going to be different. I know tons of people who they don't care about political affiliation, and that's great for them. But for those of us that do care, I want to be able to set just my deal breakers. And from there, I hardly even set any preferences. I rather just look at the compatibility scores from that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm curious how you do the compatibility scores. If for you can tell us like in a non-tech related way for us non-tech people, how you made the algorithm to figure out what these strangers' compatibility might be.
Yeah, so I looked at, well, what are all the things that people usually want to fill out on their profile and what matters to them in the world of dating and how they want to represent themselves. I also made it so that there's more ways to personalize those answers than you see on the other apps, especially when it comes to drugs, drinking, religion, politics, because I just felt that everything else was boxing people in a little bit too much. And maybe that's why people lied because they felt that the answer that truly represents them wasn't there. So what I did was I was analyzing what matters in a relationship. And then I attribute a different ranking system from all of these things. And that's when I then had the couples download the app and we realized education was one that originally it was like this should have whatever percentage of ranking. And then after speaking with all these couples, it's like, no, actually, that doesn't matter as much in terms of compatibility, especially if it's someone has a master's versus a bachelor's.
Mhm.
That's actually not as much of a defining difference within if your relationship will do well.
Yeah. That's so interesting.
Yeah, so there are little things that I thought were more important when I was first coming up with the algorithm, and then after speaking with all of these couples, really reflecting on no, what actually does matter most, and then redistributing the weight based on that.
Okay. Did you find any other surprises when you were building this algorithm?
Um, no, but it also made me realize what's the compatibility score you want to look out for on
Hmm.
Anteros. And I would definitely say you want to pay attention to people that are 60% compatibility score or higher. I wouldn't go
Okay.
anything below 60%.
Okay. So 60% you would say is good.
Yeah, that's the bottom of good.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm waiting to come across someone who has at least like 75%, and I haven't seen that just yet.
Got it. Okay. So you want to have like a little bit of a range, maybe like 60 and you can like dream for 80.
Yes, exactly. It's like, you know, every time I start hitting those that are under 60%, I'm just like, I'm not going to waste my time on those profiles. And actually, that kind of comes back to why I love my app versus the other ones, because you're not spending all this time having to like read through everything first and having to go through one profile at a time. You're literally seeing like all of the people and the score. And if you're both attracted to them and your compatibility score, then you can click into the profile and read more. But you can have this little preview of something that you can know very quickly, is this person even worth considering? I really felt that with other dating apps. I am coming across far too many people who should have never come across my worlds ever.
Yes. Yeah, totally. And so your app really helps you spend actually less time while still being able to see the people that you would possibly have a good date with.
Yeah, I mean, romance can actually be efficient, and online dating doesn't have to be emotionally or mentally draining. It
Wow.
is something that I'm like, this shouldn't be revolutionary. And I still have the app as free for right now. I'm gonna try to keep it free until I hit about 5,000 users. I'm over 1,000 right now, even though I just launched it. And I'm like, there are ways to use technology to help us and just to be more efficient. The thing is, even though we're single, we have great lives. We want to spend time with our friends and family. We have wonderful careers. Like we have so much
Yes.
time for us. I don't want to spend my evenings swiping on strangers who we would have never made sense. And I think that also comes back to the whole paradox of choice that dating apps have created and that mental, they're just one swipe away. don't want any element of that on my dating app. That is not what it's for. You are just, I check it in the morning, see if there's anyone new with a good score that I also find cute, whether they're in my explore feed or in my likes queue, and then I take it from there.
Okay, amazing. Because I feel like that is one of the biggest issues why it's so draining to be on the apps is because you do get sucked in swiping and you don't realize how much time you're spending being like, okay, let me just see one more profile, one more. And you never know what you're going to get. It's like roulette, first of
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
And then you don't realize how much time is going by because it like really like hooks your brain and you're like, okay, one more, one more, one more. And then you're like, wait, I've been on here for an hour. I haven't seen anyone that I like. And
Mhm.
that's why people are so frustrated.
Exactly. Another thing that I noticed if I saw a profile that I thought was really interesting and we had a lot in common, but I'm like, wait a second, all of their pictures seem very, very old, or maybe they're just like wearing sunglasses in all the
Yeah.
pictures. So I also made a feature that your verified picture, it's on the bottom of your profile for everyone to see. And you can only take the picture in the app. You can't upload to it. And you also have to update it every 30 days to stay verified.
Ooh.
And I'm like, there were so many times that I wanted to send a like to someone, and I'm like, there's something odd about them having very old pictures, and I don't want to waste a like on them. So this, I think, helps people ensure that there's not catfish, not bots, and that they're using pictures that represent what they actually look like at this point.
Wow. Yeah, that's so real. I hate when people have like only sunglasses pictures. I'm like, well, I want to like you, but I actually don't know what you look like.
Yes, there's like these little things where I'm like, why do I have to put so much energy and thought into these strangers? Like for just what it feels like bare minimum things. It's not like when you're seeing someone out in the wild, and I think that you just like get a slightly different presence and a more feel for their energy. But if someone has a picture, like all their pictures, they're wearing sunglasses. I mean, what is it? The eyes are the window into the soul. And I really feel like that. So I just wish
Yeah.
that people would take the sunglasses off at least for a couple pictures, please.
Well, they have to get verified every 30
Yeah,
days on your app. So,
exactly.
yeah. Okay, this is so amazing because I feel like it just is really simplifying the process and hopefully making it more efficient. Obviously, you can never know your true compatibility or if there's chemistry until you meet that person in real life, but
Yeah.
that's going to be the case on any app. And this can hopefully help you get to that point faster.
Exactly. It also, because I have a feature that if someone lies about something on their profile and four people submit that they lied about that attribute, it actually flags it. There's this whole element of also wanting to keep people accountable too. I think it just allows you to feel more confident and comfortable when you do actually move from a dating app into meeting someone in real life. Also knowing like, maybe not enough people submitted that lie yet, but that there's something in place where you're like, hey, this wasn't accurate. And I feel like this app supports the fact that I'm going to put this forth to hold that person accountable.
Right.
It's just,
So, like, if they lied about their age or their height, because I feel like that's a big thing. I know, men get attacked a lot for their height, but then if you lie about it on the app in order to be in more people's feeds, somebody's going to find out about it. When you show up on that date, if you wrote that you're 6 feet tall and you show up and that person is 5'7", they're going to notice.
and so like right now, the other apps don't do anything about it. You would have to go into one of those face groups to like post about the person. But that's just such a sucky situation. So I'm like, let it just flag that attribute that they lied about, and then they can correct it, and that little flag will go away. But I think just by having that in there, it will prevent a lot of people from lying about things that they just should not be lying about. I mean, they
Yeah.
shouldn't lie about anything, but
And age too. And I get it because people are like, well, I feel younger. It's like, that might be true, but say your real age and just own it also.
yes. Yes. There's so much I could go into just owning who you are and what you are. And like, it's all about, I want someone to match my freak, but you can't find that if you're not yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I think that that is one of the number one things that we're always trying to cast far too big of a net. We want so many people to like us, but for what? So we have more people to choose from, and this whole paradox of choice again. No, like let's focus on all the other things that you have going on in your life and then just be really, really intentional about who your future partner is. I think that my app exists, it coexists with the other ones because it's still growing. If you're someone who just wants to go out on a date, yeah, stay on the other apps, go out with someone that you find attractive. But if you really want to find someone that you have base level compatibility with and you could have potential with, that's where Anteros app comes into play. And you don't have to spend hours on it. You can just check it once a day, very briefly, and just see who's at the top of your score list.
Amazing, amazing. So I am curious if you have some good advice for people using dating apps right now, either yours or any of them.
Yeah, well, try Anteros app, of course. But don't compromise on what matters to you. Stop giving guys or girls who put the bare minimum on their profiles, stop sending them a like, stop matching with them. If they can't put effort into their profile, do you really think that they're going to put effort into dating you or a relationship? This is something that I think people are just a bit too casual with. And what I had learned is that people who put less on their profile, it's because they're trying to cast as wide a net as possible. And it's like, okay, do you really want to be added to that roster? So that's kind of like my biggest advice to people that use dating apps.
Right. Yeah. And I think you do want, I mean, everybody wants to be liked, obviously, but in terms of dating and partnership, you are not for everyone. You shouldn't be for everyone. So you should put something on there that makes you attractive to the right kind of person who's going to return that versus like, oh, I just want to be the most popular person on the app. What is that really going to get you?
Yeah, and it comes back to the way that the apps currently are set up that a lot of people just use them for ego boosts.
Hmm.
They're like, I just want to know that people think that I'm attractive, which like fine, but the Interos app is not for those people.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. So would you say like not putting effort into your profile is one of the bigger mistakes that people are making on the apps?
Definitely. Or if they're not talking enough about themselves, and I know that doesn't contradict what I was saying earlier about not asking questions and only talking about yourself. This is where you should, be creative, be personable. Don't use a silly quote that you see on every other profile because then it looks the same as everything else. Like you want to come across as an individual, and it just comes back to, being your authentic self to attract the right type of matches. Not everyone is meant to be a match for you.
Yeah, totally. I do get so frustrated when you see the same answers, the same bio, the same prompts when you're swiping through. It's like, what do you order for the table? Tequila. It's like,
That was
okay,
the first one that I thought of. That was the first one that I thought of when you said that. That is so funny.
because it's like, it doesn't tell you anything about that person.
Yeah, it really doesn't. It shows me that they're not creative, that they're not an individual. There's these two guys, I think from the Betches group, and they post these reels and they just like recycle all of the lines that all of us see, and they're spot on every single time. And I hope that the guys who use them, I hope they see those posts and I hope they see how unoriginal they are.
Yes, the one that kills me every time is like, I want a girl who doesn't take herself too seriously. And it's like, okay, that's just the biggest eye roll for me.
Yes, there's a guy that's on Anteros that we have a decent compatibility score together. But he wrote in his bio or in one of his prompts that he doesn't take him too seriously and he doesn't want his date to either. And I'm like, okay, not gonna match back with that person.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. It's like, well, I feel like you're just telling me that you're not going to take me seriously.
Yes. And it's like, I want someone who can be silly 100%. But like that whole line is just, it's overdone.
I agree. I agree. Okay, so I would love to know what are your top dating app profile do's and then also your top dating profile don'ts.
Yeah. So a lot of what we spoke to, I think the top do would be putting in effort. And again, about yourself, not, those lines, like it has to be personable. And then also not just what you're looking for. I think a lot of times people focus so much their profile on what they want rather than showing who they are. And it's like, well, how do I know that you're what I want? So I think there's just something that people need to figure out how to navigate that. Smile in your pictures. I hate when I see a profile and the person just doesn't smile in any of them, or they're wearing their sunglasses in every single one. It's, let me see your face. I'm sure it's,
Totally.
please.
I so agree. I would never swipe on anyone that doesn't, if you don't have one single smiling pic, I'm not going to swipe on you. First of all, because I want to be with a smiley, happy person. And secondly, I feel like you can't really fully see what they look like until you see them smile.
Yes, I completely agree. And I think my third one would be consider what are preferences versus deal breakers.
Yeah, that's such an important one. I feel like it takes a little bit more time and effort to discern that for people, but it's worth putting in that effort.
Yes, it is 100% worth just the time of reflection. And I think all of us could use a little bit of a reset and thinking about that.
Yes, I agree.
And then for my don'ts, hey, and this like sounds like counterintuitive, but I hate when people are negative. Like, I
Hmm.
feel like there's a lot of profiles that just start with how much they hate the apps, how much they hate dating, that people don't respond to them. And it's like, yes, we know. You don't have to waste this very valuable space on that. It is so not needed.
Oh, it's such a turnoff when you see, please don't waste my time. I'm like, you are wasting my time right now by putting that on your profile.
Yes, exactly. And I'm just like, it's not worth saying. And also, who wants to be with such a negative person? Like someone that starts off their intro to the dating world on this negative. Like, that's just not how things are meant to be. But you know what? When people do things like this, it's easy to weed them out then.
That
So,
is so true.
yeah. And then, of course, don't lie. I hate the lying, the age, the height, I mean, one of the reasons why I created the feature to submit if people lied, I went on a date with a guy who said that he does not smoke cigarettes at all. Turns out he does. And I just didn't understand. I'm like, you could have put sometimes, you could have
Hmm.
not answered the question. You just straight up lied. And it's because he knew that he would attract more people by saying that he doesn't smoke cigarettes at all. And I'm like,
But
this,
again, people are going to find out.
yes. Yeah, that's what I don't understand. And then I would say my last one, don't only rely on dating apps. And I know that that sounds very crazy as a dating app creator, but the more open you are in real life and having a more positive outlook on strangers like in the wild, I genuinely think that will give you more empathy for the people on the apps. I think
Wow.
that there is this culture of so much on our phone and we're not existing in the world like we should. And I really think that I mean, it's the whole expression of everyone wants to live in a village, but no one wants to be a villager. And it's like, be a villager, be a part of your community, be open minded. Like, check your surroundings and the people around you and have empathy for them. And I think just having that mindset of like just this openness of anything could happen at any moment you could meet someone in real life, I think that that can also translate to a more positive experience with dating apps.
Definitely. Wow. Yeah. I think we could all use some more empathy for people in dating and just like how we interact with one another. Cause yeah, it's time to bring some like humanity back to the process. And you're totally right. Like dating apps are just one tool. I think honestly, it's how most people are meeting these days, but it does help to just bring your social skills back to life by like, just like you said, being open to talking to people in real life.
Yeah, because that's the thing. I noticed that the way that the other apps are set up is that I'm not thinking of other people as like real people with the way that it's set up. I feel like I'm going through shuffling through a deck of cards.
Mhm.
And I just feel like there are ways for us to just be more human and realize that there is a person behind this profile.
Yes, 1,000%. And it's so the apps as they currently are make it really hard to do that because they're making you feel like, okay, I have to make a judgment call on this person in like 30 seconds or else I can't see the next person. So it's just like it doesn't feel real.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I didn't want to have that swiping. That's why I wanted you to see everyone at once because I hated what that mindset did to me.
Yeah, wow. Okay. This has been super great. I would love to just get a few like quick hot takes from you if you're game.
Definitely.
Okay, great. So, I mean, we touched on this already, but profiles with no bio or like the one word answers, is that red flag or can you forgive it?
The biggest of red flags.
Yes,
If
totally
if
agree.
if you're dating intentionally, the biggest of red flags.
I agree. Okay, message first or wait for them?
I've stopped messaging first.
Okay.
I realized when we were talking like about the crushes before and like the type of man that I want to attract in my life, I'm like, okay, I think that I want to attract a man who will take a lead in this setting. I wish for the men who yearn. And I feel like it's just there's these little things where as progressive as I am, there are just certain things where I'm like, I would really like the guy to message me first.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense for what you're looking for. If you want a man who is confident, who takes the lead, then it makes sense to wait because then you can see if they are confident and they do take the
Yeah.
lead.
Exactly. There are so many men just weed themselves out by doing nothing.
Yes, yes. So be bold, but if you want to be the type of person that takes the lead, then I think you should reach out first,
Definitely.
to show that you are taking the lead and the initiative there. So it just depends on like what you're looking for.
I'm normally someone who does like to take the lead, and then I realize the type of man I was attracting when I was doing that. And I'm like, okay, this is where I'm having a bit of my self-reflection, and I'm like, let me just switch things up right now and see how that goes.
No, that totally makes sense. And I think that's like a great thing to do in dating in general. If you are coming across the same type of people that you're dating and you're not liking those dates, then you have to switch up your behavior in order to get that different result.
Yeah, exactly. Without compromising on the things that matter most, but just like these little tweaks here and there.
Yes, exactly. Okay, one last hot take. How long is too long to wait for someone to respond? So, like, you've already got the conversation going. This happens on dating apps all the time where you're like having a conversation, then all of a sudden, like, poof, the person is like not responding.
I'm really curious to your answer to this. I'm going to say that 2 days is an okay grace period, but
Mhm.
after that, then I consider the conversation ended.
I am with you because I think it's not realistic to expect someone to be responding all the time or exactly when you are on the app or when you want them to because people are out here living their lives. We are all actively trying to not be so addicted to our phones. So
Mhm.
I feel like you should give them like a little bit of grace time. But yeah, if you haven't spoken to this person in like 4 or 5 days and then they come back and they just like answer the question like nothing happened, it's like, I've moved on, sir.
Yeah, yeah. Or it's like have a good reason, or maybe tell me everything that you've been up to. I don't know. I think that there's a lot of ways to navigate it, but at the end of the day, I think 2 days, that's like a decent time for, everyone's busy as they should be. Everyone should be spending less time on their phones, but 3 days.
I am with you there. And like there's the occasional outlier where they did have a good reason, whatever, but I
Mhm.
think 2, 3 days is a good like blanket rule.
Yes.
Okay. Oh my gosh, this has been so great. Do you have any last piece of advice for daters out there?
Yes. There is two quotes that I'm going to give, and one is I'm not sure who said it, but I absolutely love it. It's attract someone who speaks your language so you don't have to spend a lifetime translating your soul. And I think that too often we make compromises on who we are as a person in order to attract more people or fit into more molds of what people are looking for. But that just does us the greatest disservice for when we're looking for a life partner. And I I know that it's like it might sound dramatic, but I'm like this is the biggest decision that you can make, and it's like just be who you are, and that's how you'll attract the right type of person. And then the second one, again, it's like advice, but it's a quote that I had heard. You can't say the wrong thing to the right person, and you can't say the right thing to the wrong person. So just be yourself, scare people off, weed them out, find your match, find that is what matters. It's not a popularity contest. Dating apps are not a popularity contest. You are looking for someone that you are going to have compatibility with and then will build on chemistry and ideally have attraction to, but you can't have that compatibility and that chemistry if you're not showing up as your authentic self.
That is so real. That is so real. And somehow we have lost the plot by getting on these apps that make it feel like a game. But you're right, you are really looking for someone who's going to be compatible for you. You're looking for someone that you don't have to constantly explain yourself to or wear a mask in front of.
Yeah.
And so I love that you are trying to help people get to that place.
I think my biggest takeaway, I mean, I'd love for everyone to be on Anteros and everyone to find their match that way. But even if I get, I don't know, 6 people into couples, like that would be a success for me and well worth the money and the energy that I've invested in it. Because I think that they would be really solid matches if that's how they meet.
I love that. I love that. Well, I'm definitely going to be rooting for your success, the app success, and for people to get matches on there. So, where can people find you and how can they get on Anteros?
Yeah, so I downloaded TikTok for the very first time in order to promote the word about it. But I'm mostly engaging on Instagram. So that's at Anteros, Anteros .app. It's available nationwide for iOS. And then if you want to work with me, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm the only Samantha Ciccarella, so easy to find, or even Samantha Anteros, and you'll find me.
Amazing. Okay. Well, everybody go download Anteros, check it out. And thank you so much, Samantha, for coming on and sharing all of your wisdom with us.
Alex, I had such a great time chatting with you. This was amazing.
Awesome. Thank you so much again. And thank you everybody for listening along. If you enjoyed this episode, if you have someone in your life that wants to have a whole new dating app experience, please send them this episode. Please tell them to check out Anteros. And until next time, we will talk to you later, friends.
Bye.